Hi, it's Brett again. I'm the lead engineer on the Historian product, and I'm going to be describing to you how to publish data to an external SQL database using our Historian.
So to start off, I have a trigger configured. I'm going to be logging data every 500 milliseconds to my external database. The reason I'm using an external database versus the internal database, there could be several. Let's say you have a server already configured and you want to have all of your data stored externally, or you're going to be logging a large amount of data that could amount to terabytes and terabytes over time. So you don't want to rely on the internal storage of the historian. You'd rather offload the storage to an external system. I have my PLC configured here. So this PLC has several data points, but these aren't the column names that I want in my SQL database. These are the tag names in the PLC. So what I'll do is I'll go to the advanced section and I'll create a model, and I can copy directly from my PLC. I'll call this model, and then I can assign custom topic names which will correspond to the SQL column names when you hook this up to a SQL publisher. So this one's going to be my temperature. This one is my pressure. And these two are grouped together, and I want them to appear in the SQL database as a single column. So if you use this syntax, then they will both appear as a JSON payload under the column sensors. So now I have my data model configured. I'm going to go in here and set up a SQL publisher. So it's expecting a connection string, so I get a validation error, and I'm going to be using Microsoft SQL Server. And I'll paste my connection string, which I've already configured, and we have a description for how to set this up in the user guide. And I want to publish to the table called Historian. So there's a few different connection parameters here. Timeouts, delays between connection attempts. We have options for whether to allow adding columns to an existing table or publishing without using the entire column structure in the data model. So if you have other columns in the table, this will determine whether or not you get an error. We also have this feature called store and forward. So if this connection ever goes down, we will establish a queue on the historian, and we will drain that queue. So any SQL publishes that would have happened during the connection outage would get published as soon as the connection is restored. Like all the other publishers, we have this data publishing where you can set up triggers. So I'm going to grab my model that I just configured, and under triggers, I want to trigger every 500 milliseconds. And that should be everything. So I'll click save. And I'll give everything a moment to get hooked up and start publishing. You can keep an eye on this diagnostics page to determine whether or not you are successfully sending to the database. And you can see here, it had some failed sends from our previous configuration, but as soon as it got restarted, now I am sending out to the SQL database. And so I'll go to my SQL Server Management Studio here, and I'll confirm that I'm getting data. So I have this query. Should I refresh my tables? And this is my new table, Historian. So I will select from that. You can see here, when it started, it didn't have a connection to the PLC. So my validity flag is set to false, but I can order from the most recent. Re-execute the query, and I can see the most recent data coming in. So here you can see it's valid, and I'm logging every 500 milliseconds, just like I configured. And note that the sensors in my data model, you can see here it's showing up as a JSON payload like I expected. And that's essentially it. That's how you publish data to a SQL database using the historian.
I hope that was informational for you. If you need any additional information, follow the link below and look out for more videos.